Hi, I'm Alex from Novation. We're here today at Gear4music to take a look at our latest flagship synth, which is the Summit Synth. The Summit has many different options available to you for creating with sound design. The great thing about that is we've got loads of different wave types, great sounding kind of oscillators, and we've got a really easy to use FM section, which makes it a breeze being able to dial in kind of easy settings to be able to start getting your own sounds and not just having to rely on a patch to get something that you want from your sound design session. So let's take a little bit of a deeper look in how you can use all of those to create something unique for yourself. So let's take a look at our patches and oscillator section. We've got 4 available banks to us in this synth. So you can store up to 127 patches per bank, but obviously it will ship with the sounds that are already put into there. Now, one of the things I will mention is this is a pre-production unit, so in the release in September, the patches may be slightly different. So we've got some really cool patches that we used for the launch at Super Booth this year, which went down a storm. So, but I think one of the things that really kind of shows the synth, and kind of how easy it is to sound design with it, is we'll kind of take it back to a simple saw wave. We'll probably have a separate section where you can hear some of the individual patches that have been designed for it, and that's a kind of a nice opportunity to kind of hear what can be achieved with a bit more time rather than a very sort of short video that we're doing today. But as I said, just to really show how easy it is to get back to basics, all you do is hit the initialize patch. So it doesn't matter where you are on any of these banks, so bank A, whatever, bank 1, instead of having to find a dedicated patch to start at that kind of vanilla sort of saw wave sound as a good starting point, we just simply hit initialize. So I'll press that now. Now we've put the initialize patch on there now. So if I just hold down C, it's just a saw wave. Not the most exciting of noises, depends on what sort of sounds people enjoy listening to. The oscillator section is really clearly laid out here. So that makes it a real ease to kind of start dialing in settings. So if I now hold down the note, we can then start using the coarse and fine tune amount. We can select our range. So if we want something a bit more bassy, we go to the 16, 8, 4, 2, and so on. Now again, we'll just put it on 16. So at the moment we've got saw. So we maybe want to put it onto, I don't know, a sine wave, for example. Base station sine wave. Very simple. We can easily start dialing in PWM. We've got a really cool feature here which is called more on each of the oscillators. Now more is how you expand into the different wavetables that are available to us. So at the moment it just says base station sine. But if we start dialing in random, zing, lots of kind of interesting names and really kind of things to delve into here. So that's kind of real simple way of just dialing up your wavetables. For the sake of just getting it back to somewhere simple, I'll just initialize it back to that saw wave again, and we'll start layering up a few different oscillators just to hear it in action. So we go to our mixer section, bring in oscillator 2, oscillator 3. Now we can obviously coarse tune that as well as the range. So you can start really getting quite creative with our mixer section. And again, the more prominent kind of oscillator can be dialed in and adjusted as you need. So that's how we easily dial in the different oscillator sort of tuning, if you like. Now we can have obviously independent wave types. So if I go into oscillator 2 now, I'll bump up in volume a little more. I'll go to more again. So now on oscillator 2, it selects it here on our screen. Now if I start browsing through some of the different ones, you'll start hearing it change. So so you can start really, without even looking at the kind of the screen, you can start listening to different wave types that actually start, being quite interesting. So we can have fixed note for that if we wish. But again, for the sake of just having that, we'll leave it off. So really, really easy. Now again, we can also have things like the modulation, which we'll come to in a bit, but we can use the modulation section on this oscillator here to actually start getting some movement. So the mod envelope 2 now, if I select mod envelope 2, and of course we can use the LFO as well as an example to change maybe the shape of that. So now if I show you how you can use the shape mode here, you can actually adjust the shape of the wavetable and actually kind of, if you like, browse through it. So if I now hold a key and move this, you'll hear a bit of a difference in that. And of course that can be adjusted either manually like I'm doing or via the mod envelope 1 or maybe LFO section. So if I now dial that in and have the LFO 1, and if I adjust the LFO rate, maybe put it on sample and hold, you can kind of hear it moving and starting to get something quite unique with that. So really, really kind of fun way to be able to start getting very creative without just being sort of stuck in one particular wave type. That's the same for all 3 oscillators. So again, once you know kind of that top section, you can then, multiply that down here to be able to take control of your settings. One of the things that I mentioned in the overview was the FM section. Now, we've got the FM mode. Now, if we go back to initialize patch, just to hear a basic saw wave. And if I now, say for example, want to assign oscillator 3 to feed oscillator 1, all I do is turn up this dial here. So oscillator 3 feeds oscillator 1. So now if I press a key and then use oscillator 3 to kind of tune that FM, if you like, or to modulate that, I should say. Now, for example, I want to change the range of that. Really kind of easy to start getting some FM going on here. So, and again, we can start manipulating that further. So for example, I might want the source amount to be adjusted by the LFO2. So if I now say I want LFO2 to control the amount of FM, so you can start getting some really interesting stuff. Now straight away I found myself reaching for the effects because it's kind of starting to sound like quite an interesting patch. But then next up really from that mixer section, we've got the filter section, which we'll come to. But yeah, you can start really kind of creating very unique sounds with that kind of setup and everything being clearly laid out on the top panel. Okay, so to access the different wavetables, all we use is this button here to go into our menu. So now we go through our different wave types, but if I go to more, that's how it opens up our different options available to us with our wavetables. Now in the oscillator menu, it will give you oscillator 1, 2, and 3. But if we go all the way to the left, this is where our kind of our common pages, if you like. This is also where we've added the tuning tables. There are 16 different tuning tables available to you, so you can easily kind of save locally, whether you're using Scala or Scala, however you pronounce it. You can save the text files, and then using component software, you'll be able to send those tuning tables to the Summit. The great thing about that is that you can actually, if you start building a patch that you really like, you can actually save that tuning table 1 to 16 on the actual patch itself. Now, those of you not familiar with tuning tables, it's a really interesting way to kind of move away from the standard kind of Western key tuning, which starts giving some really interesting ideas and almost percussive tunings from Middle East, etc. So it's a very, very nice way to kind of take your music to another world completely. For more information about it, please check the link beneath the video, and I hope you enjoyed the videos today.